For the first time since the end of World War II, Japan is building a centralized national intelligence system. A country that once rejected powerful spy agencies because of its wartime past is now preparing to create an organization designed to detect foreign espionage, counter outside interference, and strengthen national security. The timing is no coincidence. China is expanding its military, North Korea continues missile testing, Russia remains increasingly active in Northeast Asia, and the United States is urging its allies to take greater responsibility for their own defense. Japan's decision signals something much bigger than bureaucratic reform. It marks another major step in the country's transformation from a strictly pacifist nation into a more assertive security power. But the real question is whether Japan is simply adapting to a dangerous world or quietly rewriting the rules that have defined its foreign policy for nearly 80 years. Security strategy after World War II looked very different from that of most major powers. Following its defeat in 1945, the country adopted a new constitution in 1947. Article 9 famously renounced war and limited Japan's military role. Instead of building an independent global intelligence network like the CIA or MI6, Tokyo relied heavily on the United States for intelligence gathering, strategic assessments, and regional security. Japan did maintain intelligence organizations, but they remained fragmented across different ministries and agencies. The Cabinet Intelligence and Research Office, or CIRO, coordinated some intelligence work, but it lacked strong legal authority and could not force cooperation between government departments. That is now changing. Japan's parliament has approved legislation creating two new institutions: a National Intelligence Council that will coordinate intelligence collection and analysis across the government, and a National Intelligence Bureau responsible for operational activities. Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi has described the reform as only the first step towards strengthening Japan's intelligence capabilities. Although the new organization will not resemble the American CIA, it represents the biggest restructuring of Japan's intelligence system since the Second World War. The first reason behind this transformation is the rapidly changing security environment in East Asia. Japan no longer faces the same strategic conditions that existed during the Cold War. China has dramatically expanded its military capabilities, increased naval patrols around the East China Sea, and intensified pressure near Taiwan. North Korea continues developing ballistic missiles capable of reaching Japan while regularly conducting missile launches. Russia has strengthened military cooperation with China and remains active across the Pacific region. At the same time, cyber attacks, technology theft, economic espionage, and foreign influence campaigns have become central tools of geopolitical competition. Japanese officials increasingly believe that relying almost entirely on intelligence provided by allies is no longer sufficient. Every country interprets intelligence according to its own national interests. Tokyo wants greater independence in understanding threats before making critical security decisions. That shift reflects more than regional tensions. It also reflects changing expectations from Japan's closest ally. The second reason is the evolution of the U.S. Japan alliance. For decades, the United States accepted primary responsibility for intelligence and regional security in East Asia. But Washington's strategic priorities have changed. President Donald Trump has repeatedly argued that American allies should spend more on defense and become less dependent on U.S. military protection. Although security cooperation between Washington and Tokyo remains extremely close, Japanese leaders increasingly recognize that stronger self-reliance strengthens the alliance rather than weakens it. Prime Minister Takaichi has already backed Japan's largest ever defense budget, worth approximately $58 billion. Her government has invested hundreds of millions of dollars in drone defense systems, laser-based interception technologies, and expanded military modernization. Tokyo has also moved closer to easing long-standing restrictions on exporting lethal military equipment. Creating a stronger intelligence system fits naturally into that broader strategy. Modern militaries cannot operate effectively without reliable intelligence. Information has become just as valuable as missiles, aircraft, and warships. But building a stronger intelligence service presents another challenge rooted deeply in Japan's own history. The third reason this reform remains controversial is public memory. During World War II, Japan's Special Higher Police, known as the Toko, closely monitored civilians, arrested political opponents, and suppressed dissent. That experience created deep public distrust toward powerful domestic surveillance institutions. For decades, many Japanese viewed centralized intelligence agencies with suspicion, fearing they could eventually threaten civil liberties. Supporters of the new reforms argue today's proposal differs fundamentally from wartime institutions. The legislation mainly improves coordination between existing agencies rather than creating sweeping new surveillance powers. Experts also note that Japan still lacks comprehensive anti-espionage legislation and foreign influence transparency laws that many Western democracies already possess. Public opinion also appears to be shifting. Recent polling suggests only a small minority actively oppose the intelligence reforms, while many younger Japanese no longer view post-war security debates with the same intensity as previous generations. That changing mindset reflects how dramatically Japan's strategic environment has evolved over the past decade. Japan's intelligence reform carries consequences far beyond its own borders. For East Asia, it signals that Japan intends to become a more capable security actor, rather than relying almost exclusively on American intelligence. That could improve regional coordination with partners such as Australia, South Korea, and other members of the Quad. For China and Russia, the creation of a stronger Japanese intelligence structure means foreign espionage operations, technology theft, and influence campaigns may face greater scrutiny. For the United States, the reform supports Washington's long-standing goal of encouraging allies to shoulder more responsibility for their own security while strengthening intelligence sharing across the alliance. For the wider Indo-Pacific, Japan's transformation represents another piece of a much larger strategic shift. Countries across the region are increasing defense spending, expanding intelligence cooperation, and preparing for an era of prolonged great power competition. Yet Tokyo must balance stronger national security with protecting democratic freedoms. Maintaining public trust will remain just as important as improving intelligence capabilities. Ultimately, Japan's greatest challenge is not building a stronger intelligence agency, it is proving that national security and civil liberties can advance together. Japan is not abandoning its post-war identity, it is redefining what protecting that identity requires in a far more dangerous world. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the International Desk, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into the geopolitical stories shaping our world.